the entombment or a saint. And now he's going to lit. He's putting a fire over here. Can you see the light very strongly over here? So doesn't use an oil lantern from the top. My brazier, a fire from the bottom, lighting all those people over here. Why? Not only he painting somebody already dead, but almost in a kind of cremation. Fire is the element of, one of the principal elements of life. Is being used in all civility to transform matter in the new form, in the spirit. So for cremation. So practically he's continue to paint his own death. Not only the death, not only the collation, but also being burned completely. Because he doesn't think they can live. Any day they can live is an additional day that they're receiving. He escaped from Syracuse because now everybody knows that he's in Syracuse, in this town. And he goes to Messina. And once again, soon the people knows that he's there. They ask the church, ask to the local church to do another painting. He doesn't want to do it. But finally, he received a letter from Costanza and from the nephew of the Pope, that the Pope is giving to him the grace. Because now, because he becomes such an important painter, and everything he did in Rome, but only also in Malta and in Syracuse, doing this beautiful painting for the church, finally the Pope is giving to him the grace. Finally, is free. He's free to come back to life, to come back to Rome, to come back to Lena, to come back to be a painter. So it's a kind of resurrection for him. And which kind of subject is choose for this church? The resurrection of Lazarus. You know the story of Jesus? He's been called from one family. The son died, and he since 2 or 3 days. And he called this man from the tomb and resurrected. This is the legend. So he used the principle of Lazarus being resurrected, and how he lit it. Once again, he put Jesus with the hand, calling him to life. This is like the Caravaggio himself being called by the Pope, by the Jesus, to become to light. But now the sun is over here. This is the sun on the left side. When the sun is on the left side in Europe? At dawn, early morning. What is the symbol of the sunrise in early morning? It's the new life. Practically now we feel they can come back to life. Come back to life. The journey they painted in different painting was from the death on the right side of when he did the calling of San Matthew, the top when he did the Madonna, and now it's on the left side. It's like a resume, going backwards. Practically, once again, he tells the story through the light that he wants to rebirth. Now is a resurrection. Caravaggio was not able to really come back to life. Because when they are arriving with the little boat from the church to take him and bring him to Rome, he goes with them, and he has some painting with him. That was painted specifically as a present to the nephew of the Pope. He painted two sons, John, and also has with himself the painting of Lena. You remember the Maddalena penitent? That was a kind of portrait for him. They want to give to Costanza Colonna, a kind of present. One way to another, during the journey, they stopped to a little town near Rome, and the cardinal, they moved him from the Sicily island in South Italy, close to Rome, said, stay here, don't move, till they will receive the paper from the church, then you are free, the grace. You should hold over here. They go away with the painting. And one way to another, the police into this little town didn't have any paperwork to understand there is not any more condemned from the church. They put him in jail again, just for one night. The day after, the captain of the city recognized all the story and leave Caravaggio free. Now the story of Caravaggio is a little confused with all the document. Seems they went to almost want to run behind the boat. There's already left. And went to the beach running, but the malaria, he was sick, you remember, and the big sun, seems they become very unconscious, very weak. He fell on the ground. One version says that he died on the beach. Another version that seems more realistic, that somebody find his body very sick on the beach and moved to the hospital. He died into the hospital of this little town, and he was buried in the commune, let's say, cemetery, again with many other people that died at the period. Seems that recently somebody did a long research into these bones, find some bones with the DNA, they can tell there is part of the family of Caravaggio. So for sure I died over there, and for sure I was buried over there. What that means, that it was not able to, in a physical life, to really have the chance to really be resurrected, come back to Rome, continue his life with his own fiancée, to continue his own painting, with the pleasure of life. He died practically. But through his own creativity, for all the story they wrote in every painting, practically it became impermanent. Practically today we are still describing his own story after so many centuries. They say something very simple. Our matter, our physical life has a kind of impermanence that we have to die and rebirth in different philosophy, religion. Probably the matter belongs to a single person, but through our creativity we can become impermanent. So I mean that through our creativity you can really feel that our mind, our principle, our creativity can stay forever. And that's, I think, is a great message that he's sending to us. Oh, sorry, I want to have this one on board. Yeah, this is the film that I did. This is an image that I did about Caravaggio a few years ago. This is Alessio Boni, an actor that play Caravaggio, and this is how we rebuild the concept of the calling of St. Matthew. In his studio, we had the window, and probably he wake up one early morning, and he, by chance, he see probably, this is one of the possibilities, he saw this beam of light coming over here, and he had the idea to put it. Or maybe he dreamed about his father, I don't know. But that's how the story goes. And the most incredible message that thanks to our creativity, we can really survive forever. Thank you very much. Light. Let's have a break, and after we pick up our journey with the last temple, okay? So
我们先休息15分钟啊，麻烦把话筒递给他。我们那个温达的话筒。
Is this in channel 2?
Hello, hello, test. Hi. Thank you for letting us know about all these symbols. I would like to discuss particularly about the painting, the calling of Saint Matthew. To me, that window is a very important point. That's my interpretation. It actually symbolized, I felt it actually symbolized that it symbolized the Saint Matthew.
Give me the... No.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, what I felt is the window is actually symbolized Saint Matthew. When you mentioned that you Photoshop, you can take out the window and it doesn't, it is not necessary. But how I see in this painting is there's a bright light that represents Jesus. That bright light is actually looking an unopened wisdom, which is the window. That is what I felt. So I felt that the window is representing Saint Matthew. I'm not sure whether what I'm saying is true. I would like to hear how do you see in this statement where the window is actually representing him.
Honestly, I'm like you. We are only trying to do some consideration and a personal interpretation. We don't know the truth. That's possible. It's possible that the window is somebody open to something, but doesn't have any light, interior light, and there is Jesus arriving with the light, illuminating him. That's very possible. Your interpretation of it can be correct. I never thought about it. Now that you pointed out, yes, it's another possible interpretation. Why not?
Okay, thank you. That's my...
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for an additional...
Yeah, we discuss.
That's very possible, very possible.
Yeah, because you are teaching us symbol, and that's what you inspire us. Thank you.
Well, if anybody has another question, is welcome. If he's not, everything is obscure or everything is clear in your mind? So that means everything was clear.
Thank you. So these 3 days you have talked too much about Caravaggio, but to me, before these 3 days, I'm thinking maybe, especially in the last emperor, I'm thinking your filming is more like maybe Delacroix and maybe Jean-Jacques David. It's talking a big story. So it's not like a portrait. So how do you think about that and the other two painters?
Can you repeat the name because it's not clear to me, the other two painters' name?
对，是那两个人的名字。
Yeah. Honestly, I never thought about Delacroix. For every painting that I saw of himself, there was no one that was touched me in a conscious way, as far as Caravaggio did. David, very possible, because David, all his neoclassic, revisiting the classic era, many of his painting is into my mind. When I says, speaking about the art of cinematography, then we have the result, or everybody that was before of us, even if I was meaning all the other cinematographer that was before myself, but without any doubt there is any other human being, even if somebody I never know, or somebody that I read about or saw some creativity about. So without any doubt, in our bones, in our unconscious, there is all the creativity of everybody that was before of us, without any doubt. In a conscious way, Caravaggio was the strongest impression that I had. But definitely when you mentioned David, several of his paintings is in my mind, even if not necessarily about the selection of light and shadows, which the kind of confrontation, the kind of dialogue, the kind of conflict is the more interesting part for myself, because I understood step by step as I grow up that my meaning of my life is the search of balance between two opposites. David light is, let's say, the episode they represent are very interesting. The quality of the representation, he used really the classic style that was used in repeat the classic one, the new classic. And mainly is let's say, visual representation was not necessarily about the dialogue or the conflict between light and shadows, like it was in Caravaggio, but was mainly a kind of very uniform light. He was not probably interested in the representing any scene from the Orazio Curiazzi, in Napoleon, or in any other painting that I saw about a specific interpretation of light and shadows, I say. That's why Caravaggio touched me much more, you know what I mean? But any painters is into my mind. And the more I know them, the more it becomes more clear that I am the result of everything they did, like you are the result of everything they did plus me. Even if you are not aware of it, without any doubt. Thank you.
No. Hi. Sorry, another question. You mentioned that in your life you have few stages. The first stage that you see Caravaggio's painting and you start to analyze light and shadow. So when it goes to the next stage, when you start to see colors, so will you go back to all this painting and can you explain how will you see this painting when you find the meaning of colors to you?
As I already mentioned, there is a kind of dual part in ourselves. The male part and the female part. The conscious, the unconscious. And Caravaggio, once again, if you noticed, in using the light, particularly at the beginning of his life, and particularly because he was using the mirror, the soft light coming from the left on the painting is really a symbolic visual element of feminine side of himself. It's very feminine, is the side part and the soft light. In the use of color, he mainly starts from black, which is the beginning of everything, practically the preconscious, and he uses red, orange, yellow. Very rare he touch green. In only one or two painting, he put some kind of cloth in green color. Doesn't so the light is very feminine side, the color a very male side of the color spectrum. He found his own balance in using light to color in two different ways, in my opinion. I never noticed in his painting blue, indigo, violet, the female side of the color spectrum. Particularly on the beginning of his life, his mainly was using feminine. And he started to become aware of the, let's say, the representation of male with the sun setting, with the calling of San Matthew. Mainly he used this kind of light, natural light, when he needs to represent the presence of the divinity, if he's not in the painting. When Jesus is there, he doesn't need it. He doesn't use it. That's my interpretation. I may be wrong, I don't know.